Monday, and it's an informational day. It's time to talk about our next section of the Old Testament history books. Now, you might be saying, Pastor, we talked about the very beginning of this Bible library expedition through the Bible. You told us that the Bible is not a history book, so to speak, right? It's not just, it has art forms, it has things to be with symbols and such. It's not a straightforward history textbook. Yes, it's not. But of all the books, these are called history because these are the most like that, if you will. There's still those things to apply. There's still interpretive work to be done. But these cover a large swath of history of what is about to become the kingdom of Israel. Spoiler alert. Sorry, I probably should have said that part first. In these books, right, the Samuels, the Kings, the Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Ruth, all these history books, Joshua, that's coming up. I did not say those in order, but that's fine. They're chronicling after the death of Moses, all the way through the reigns of the kings. And we'll save the prophets for later. This is the king's side of the story, so to speak, kind of. These books are often they have various authors. Let's start there. As we talked about before, changing, altering, removing any part of Scripture is the highest sin in these societies. So instead of altering history, in this case, sometimes we get a second account that might have a slightly different perspective. So you'll see this especially with 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Samuel and Chronicles. They cover the same material, but they might have a little bit of a different understanding of why certain things happened or how certain people may have reacted to things happening. King David's a good example. We're going to talk about, so like I said, we're going to go through Joshua and the people settling in the Promised Land, Jericho and all that fun. We're going to go through the United Israel, so real quick, guess how many kings they got into in state of united country? 3! Not many. Saul, David, and Solomon. And then civil war broke out, and they split into 2 kingdoms. And then we'll cover those stories of those kings. So, if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, and if you haven't, let me catch you up. It's a show, it's a fantasy. Ignore the part about dragons, that doesn't really apply here. But this idea of many people vying for power and lots of bloody gore, backstabbing, betrayal, inside networking, religion woven in and all this. That's a good description for a lot of what we're about to read. Maybe not as much early on, but especially in the later parts of these history books. Yeah, there's a lot of people who die. There's a lot of, it's kind of one of the themes of the history. The people of God losing their way a little bit. And these books are fascinating. This is a section of the Bible that I think a lot of folks don't read very carefully, which is a shame because I still maintain, I know they've tried these Bible TV shows and they're usually bad and they don't succeed. Man, this would be so good. I mean, what happens in some of these books is just crazy. The historical events. And we'll obviously get into the context individually more for those books' days, of course. But generally speaking, there's quite a bit of plot-driven narrative in these books. You will see famous figures. Like I said, I named the 3 United Kings, but you'll see other famous figures like Samuel. You will see Elijah, Elisha. You will see, like I said, Joshua. The judges. I forgot the judges. All the great judges, right? Samson, Deborah. There's Ehud. Very underrated story. Again, great TV show. Anyway, we're gonna see a whole swath of a fascinating time, history of time of God's people. It's unlike any other section of Scripture, and it is funny too, having read the New Testament of where the church is then, seeing where people of God were at this point, seeing the juxtaposition of what was important, but also what are the same temptations that the people of God were falling into even back then. The people sometimes don't necessarily change overnight. So, I hope you enjoy these, getting ready to get into these history books. Just because it's history doesn't mean it's going to be boring or that you have to like history. I'm telling you, these books are juicy. They're not going to be able to read them overnight. You probably don't want to read them overnight. Let them breathe a little bit. But they're going to be a great expedition. So I look forward to this week together with you in the Bible Library.